Welcome to another episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. My name is Stephen Clark and I'm joined by a co-host in the studio, Nick Ponty. Bringing you all the latest news, guys, keeping you up to date with the property market. Hi and welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast, Nicole Rudder.
Hello.
G4's boss lady. We're sitting in the G4 podcast studio in Wishaw.
I know. A big thank you to you for creating this great space that we're in, because we've found it really great for the podcast. So far, our listeners have said it's been a great improvement. You know, sound, lighting, cameras. So it's a great space you've created here.
I've set it up to make us all look good, guys.
I was going to say, but apparently myself and Nick look actually alright. But instead of being on radio now, we're on YouTube.
We've probably got a wee bit to go until we get as big as you on TikTok, because that's actually one of the first places that I saw you. So obviously, like, TikTok's got a good algorithm where it throws up all the kind of property stuff.
That's it.
And obviously you pop up and you're in front of this big, it looks like a big castle mansion, and that's what we're on to talk about today. So it's the Garrion Tower, which is your kind of latest property project. So do you want to just explain a wee bit about what the Garrion Tower, like what it is first of all?
Right, so the Garrion Tower, where do I start? So randomly, I had bought this building we're in the now back in April 21, and I had renovated the full thing. I mean, there was a couple of times where I literally just nearly shaved my head because it was so stressful.
What was this before you bought it?
So this was an old factory. It was like a door factory, you know, like garage doors, shutter doors and all that. So this place looked nothing like it looks now. I ripped it back to the bare brick. There was no gas, central heating, there was nothing. So I literally ripped it back to the bare walls and then started again. So I had never really done a project to this size. And when I was doing it, I was just like, this is mad, but I was enjoying it.
What size is this, just for the listeners that
it's
don't know?
It's a 7,000 square feet factory.
Aye.
So a fair size for an office space, if you like. Plus, it was never an office space before. It was a factory, and, you know, there was just equipment and machines. And so when we came in here, it was just, I mean, there wasn't any heating or anything. It was just, it was a mess. Like, the toilets, I don't even know where to start with that. Right? So it was
and now they're stunning black designer toilets, by the way, people.
When I first came in here, I remember one of the first times I was in, I'd brought someone in and I'd went for like boots, like my heels into trainers, and I like stood in a rusty nail and I took a toe off. But I still loved the place. I was still really happy to be here, and I was still just loving it. So no, it was horrible before. And then obviously when I'd come in, I was like, oh, you know, it's so weird way. Some people have just got that like vision kind of thing. Like I remember I was bringing staff members and stuff up here when it was still a factory, and I was saying, oh my God, yous are going to love it. Yous are going to absolutely love it. And I brought them up. I was like, look at it. And they were going, oh my God, like, what?
You're saying something that they're not saying.
If you bought this, if you already done it, I'm like, you love it. And see, now it's obviously, it's amazing now. So I'm so glad we've done it. But
so this has quite a few of your businesses as well, but it's also got like multiple businesses in here as well, in different spaces.
Yep, so in here we've got the two podcast studios, podcast one which we're in, and then obviously podcast two up the stairs. Podcast one was just doing that well, that we had a space literally right above this, and I was like, right, let's utilise every inch of this building. So literally done podcast two because podcast one was doing so well, so that was amazing. The factory kind of space that we still have in the middle, we just use for like events and open days, and we also do like loads with the community. So we have like kind of local businesses come, and we have like market days so that they can generate interest for their businesses within a business who is kind of well known within the area. So that works pretty well for the community as well, and we do loads of that in here. And then obviously we've got all the office space as well. So it's well utilised.
You've got a wee bit of experience then, and obviously, you know, developing property a wee bit, but this building, the Garrion Tower, that's a different beast.
This is a different animal. Absolutely.
Explain the beast.
So basically, I think what happened was once this project had kind of finished, I was getting itchy feet. And I thought, do you know, and one of my friends, she's a bit mad, but she likes to put her madness into me, and then I actually do the job, and she just basically is the idea behind it. So
go on then.
She was like, oh, look at this. She always sends me things. Look at this.
Where did you see it originally?
It was on Remax website. So I thought, obviously I was, by that point, I hadn't said to anybody, and I thought, I'm going to go and look at that. I'm not going to tell anybody. Drove down, had a quick look.
And what is it? Like, to the listeners, explain it.
So Aye, sorry, for anybody that doesn't know what it is. So the Garrion Tower was an old bishop's summer house. So it's like a 14th century castle. It's classified as a castle because it does have a turret, although for outside it kind of looks like a big mansion rather than such as a castle, if you like. It comes with 4.5 acres of land right down onto the River Clyde, which has got the rights to the River Clyde as well, so you own like half the river. Basically the back garden's the River Clyde, so it's just absolutely amazing. It's so beautiful. When you go down there, it's so weird because it's still classed as a Wishaw postcode. It's got an ML2 postcode, but it's pretty much on the Clyde side because the back garden like runs at the back of that. When you go down there, you go for like this busy town centre with roadworks and, you know, just everything going on, and you literally drive 5 minutes to there and it feels like you're nowhere else. You know, it's so weird. It's just so quiet, it's peaceful, it's beautiful. There's
5 acres of land will do that as well.
5 acres of land, exactly. There's just like deer, like we were up there yesterday, there's just like, you're just driving up, there's a wee family of deers just running past you. It's amazing. So when I went up there and I jumped the fence and had a wee peek myself, and I thought, oh, this is so nice. And at the time it was up, so initially it's been up, it had been on the market for about 7 months at that point. Obviously that was during COVID and stuff as well, because I purchased it in the 18th, well, the sale went through on the 18th of February. I like to say I got the keys, but there was no front door, so there wasn't any keys.
Crowbar.
But aye, so it was like I got to crowbar it open that day. The 18th of February was when I officially took over the place, and that was
how
last
big is
year.
it, the building itself?
So the building itself previously had about 19 rooms. It's a fair size, 4 stories and about 19 rooms. But because there's been water damage to the roof, it's broke in and took down 3 flights of stairs, basically. Wow. So the full inside had to get ripped out. How
long has it been empty for then?
Since 2008. Unoccupied since 2008, which actually doesn't seem that long ago. I mean, there was a Sky dish on the side of it. So
somebody was sitting in their 14th century castle watching Sky.
I thought that was bizarre, but
what was the history to it? Like, not history going way back, but basically the last owner.
Yeah. So from what we know, again, there wasn't actually any floor plans or anything that came with it. It was a bishop's summer house. That was originally what it was built for. And then in the later years it was used as a fruit farm, which is well known within the area. Loads of people's like granddads and dads and mums and all that all worked there and stuff like that. Then it was a family home for a good amount of years after that. And then after that, it was then bought by a building company who were based in London. So that was who I purchased it from. Now, from what I've now found out through like the council and things like that, I think they looked to buy it for the land. So they effectively wanted to rip it down and use the land because it's, you know, it's an ideal location for houses and whatever.
Is it listed, the building itself?
Be listed on one side of it. So the full building isn't listed, but the original section of it, because there was an extension added on later on. So the original structure of the building is a be listed building. So unfortunately, every bit of planning permission to bring it down was knocked back. So
and had there been previous planning?
Aye, there've been a couple of planning applications put in, and the people who owned it before me, they were wanting to tear it down and make houses on the land.
So it's a good thing that these buildings are getting restored and put back in life.
Absolutely. So that's kind of what the community wants, isn't it? So that's,
absolutely. What was it on the market for then? How much was it on the market for?
Originally, it was on the market for offers over 799. So they wanted basically 800 grand for it. And then it got brought down during the peak of COVID. I think it got brought down to offers over 599. And then when I went to look at it, it was offers over 400.
Nice.
And I put in an offer for £240,000. So I put in a verbal offer that day, literally just sent them a wee email, very informal. Hello, I would
just jump the fence and have a look at this castle.
I literally jumped the fence, came out, wrote an email from my phone that day, so profesh, and I was like, I would offer you 240 for this. And the guy phoned me. So it was that same night, this guy phoned my mobile, and I was like, hello. He's like, hi. And this is exactly what the guy said. He's actually really, we were laughing about it after it, but he phoned me. He said, hi, Nicole, it's so-and-so here for Remax. I said, okay. He's like, so just to confirm, like, can I ask you where your offer came from? Like, it's also a bit cheeky. So I'm wondering where your offer came from. And immediately I was thinking, this guy's on the phone to bargain with me. You know, he's trying to get my offer up. And I went, see, if I'm being honest, I says, it's what I can actually afford. I says, I'm not going to go above that. I says, it's something that I can realistically afford if what my plan in my head for the building doesn't work out. It's something I can realistically afford and without crushing me. So that's really where it is. And is that your price point? I went, aye. He went, well, you've got it, so well done. And I went, oh no. I was like, I've not told him to
This is very interesting, right? Because this is probably the number one rule of what not to do in property is let your emotion
I am
take
really
your
sorry
decision.
about this, so I'm sorry if that's people don't listen to me. I'm a bad influence. This is what not to do.
So what I'm seeing is there, you basically you saw something at that time where you jumped the fence and
Absolutely.
your emotion got you. You're like, I need this, so this is going to be great.
Don't know. I'm going to say no. You've got an 800 grand castle. You've got for 240 grand.
4.5 acres of land.
With 4.5 acres of land.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
That's
Which nobody bought for 800.
Think about. I mean, I'm assuming mitigating your risk, thinking if you were to just go, fuck it, this is not working out. That's not what I wanted. It's too much. I can sell it. Surely you're going to get 240 grand for it.
Oh, you would think so anyway.
So how did the negotiation play out then? Did that offer get snapped up straight away?
Literally, they snapped it up right away, and I went, oh, okay, right, that's
Maybe you
fine.
should offer less.
I got that in my head. I was thinking, God, I can run in less.
I know.
You always think that though when your first offer gets accepted.
You did, didn't you? You always think, oh, I could have went less. Did you always think you'd be? I always say that to people. People say, oh, I'm making it, and I always say, be dead cheeky. Because a lot of the time, cheeks worked for me a few times. So I get right cheeky sometimes, the border of insulting. So I know that. So that kind of went ahead, and then basically I had to then inform people what I had done. I was like, hi guys.
Who was that? Who was that you had to inform?
Well, I had to obviously break it to my husband as well. I think that was the stories in the paper. You know, people were loving that, but my husband wasn't honestly bothered.
I saw something in the paper here, and it was like,
oh, he was angry, he was livid, and he was raging, angry husband and all that.
It was the
so
Daily
untrue.
Record headline was Scott's mum who secretly spent 250k on derelict castle. I don't understand where the mum bit comes
Scott's
from.
I know.
What relevance is it that you're a mum?
A lot of the papers I hadn't even spoke to, they were just like taking the story for one paper, because I had spoke to the Sunday Mail, and that was the only people I had spoke to at the time, and then basically all the other papers just grabbed the story and reworded it for the Sunday Mail's paper. So effectively, and my husband, I mean, that was a bit of a laugh at the time, because it's obviously my business and it's separate, so he isn't, it's not like I'm spending his physical money. I had went home and basically said to him, and he was, when I had said to him, I said, listen, I've done something, and he was like, what? And I was like, I've bought a castle, I'm going to renovate it into a wedding venue. And he's like, oh my God. And then I showed him, and he went, it's not a castle, it's bloody ruins, you bought, it's ruins. I was like, no, hi, just get a turret.
So the instant vision of looking at it, is that what you thought straight away? This is going to be a wedding venue? Straight
away. So then I seen, you know, the views, the scenery, and it was so quiet. We had family of deers going past. I thought, this is perfect for a wedding. Like, people would love this. Like, see if this was, you know, if this was really, really just looked after and the money was put into it, then this could be something dead special. And see, to be fair, there's nothing really within our kind of surrounding area that's like that.
High-end wedding venue.
Exactly. And you know, the Clyde Valley is such a beautiful bit, but you know, there's not really much run about there now either that's kind of like up and coming, or I just think it's so relevant to bring Glasgow to us. You know, we're travelling to Glasgow, or we're travelling to Edinburgh to get venues like that. Bring them to us. Let's put, you know, North Lanarkshire on the map. Is effectively what I was thinking. So
love it.
That was my idea.
Obviously, you're sorry, Stephen.
No, I was going to think, like, how did you have an idea of what you would spend on it for a start? Obviously, you know, you've seen inside it at this point. Did you just think?
I hadn't seen inside it on paper. I had clicked on it one day, but that was a different story. So effectively, I kind of had an idea what roughly it was going to probably cost. I knew that there was also support available when I bought it, because I had spoke to a couple of like local companies who, you know, the Scottish Heritage Fund and North Lanarkshire Council, things like that, had already showed interest in helping with regeneration grants, because it was a listed building and they didn't want the building. Effectively, this turning it into a wedding venue is my responsibility, but saving a building, an old building, and keeping it a B-listed building where people can still come and they keep their history alive is also for everybody. So effectively, I knew there was people who had an appetite to help me. So I did reach out to the people and stuff like that as well, and that's who I'm kind of in talks with now as well, to try and help with, for example, like the stonemasons and the rebuilding of the turret and things like that. That's all things that I can get help with, and that's what I'm working on at the minute. So I had an idea of what it was going to cost. I did start quite early on to speak to people as well, like local companies who would get involved in helping us, and the full idea of the social media as well is to build this up so much and make it such a big deal that it's a big deal not just for us but for everybody.
People want involved in it.
Anybody who wants to be involved in it, it's a big deal for you, because working on a project of this size is probably massive for their company as well, and to be involved in something locally that they've helped.
I love the way you're obviously just documenting it as well, because like obviously you're going to hit the ground running as soon as it opens. You're going to have all that exposure already.
Hope so.
So do you know what I mean?
Hope so, or I'm in trouble.
You're doing a lot of work for nothing. But the financing part of it, right? So you 240k, is that just so you just buy the building cash then, or?
I bought the building. So I bought the building myself, and then obviously. Buying the building wasn't a problem. It's more about the
cost of
the financing of the project. So effectively at the minute, we've been working with the quantity surveyor that I deal with. He's absolutely amazing. He's been really, really hands-on. He's been really, really good. And my project manager, Laura, who is my friend, she's an interior designer, so she's come on board as well with us now full time.
So this is the one that poked you into buying it in the first place, or?
Yeah, not her. No, not her. She's an interior designer.
She's banned.
Once I had bought it, she was one that I basically sent the link to and said, "Hello, I need your help on this." And she went, "What is it? What are you doing now?" And then I was like, "All right, okay, I've got a long story for you." So no, this is my friend Laura, she's an interior designer. She designed actually all the podcast studios in this full building. So she has basically been trying to design the full place now to map out exactly what the spend is going to be, so that the quantity surveyor can be as on the money as possible. So we've been working on that. We're estimating the project to be about between 5 and 7 million to actually get it up and running.
That's quite big numbers, isn't it?
It's very big numbers. We're looking to recoup probably about 3 million of that is going to be hopefully coming from people who can provide grants and things like that. We've had quite a bit of support already. Like I said,
you have to go through applications and all that for that. So that's even that in itself is going to be a lot of work, isn't it?
It is a lot of work. Although I have to be honest, the people that we've been dealing with so far has been absolutely amazing. You know, you think that something is going to be a lot of work, although you have to fill in the applications. That I was doing there yesterday with people who are just coming to visit it, who are helping us.
Right.
Like, people are very interested in this. There's not a lot of people, well, unless you know any that I don't, but there's not a lot of people who are saving these old buildings and making them useful.
No.
Because, well, that was...
Who's going to buy a building and make it a museum?
Well,
nobody's going to do that.
It's more commercially viable to knock it down and build fucking 100 houses in it.
Exactly, it is. And, you know, we're doing loads of things as well, which this wasn't so we could get money. This was completely just because we believe it's so, so important. But there's loads of things that we've found whilst emptying the property out. There's loads of history that we've been informed of whilst we've been doing the social media and stuff like that. Loads of people who are so invested in this project, so happy. I've had people sending me saying congratulations on your new home cards. I'm not kidding you on. Just, it's been so important to people, which has been absolutely amazing. Other things that we found in everything, we're opening up like a wee kind of history room within it. So you can come in, it's going to involve local tours and things like that, where you can come in, you can sit and you can have a coffee and you can see the history of the building. Old magazines that we've found, you know, things like that. We've preserved all of that. I mean, we've got potato sacks and everything through in that cupboard next door. We found an old gun and, you know, just loads of things that we've found, preserved it all, and we're going to keep that part of the history of the building. Although it's going to be a hotel, you can effectively maybe get married where your granda used to work. I think that's special.
That's cool, right? I mean, that is cool. And there's obviously that advantage to the community where they're actually, you know, there's going to create jobs and all the rest of it. But ultimately, you're an entrepreneur, you know, you're a businesswoman, you've started this, you know, G4 Claims, you've successfully built G4 Claims, and, you know, you're obviously, you need to make it financially viable as well. So has there been any point over the last few months where you've been getting, you know, costs in and stuff like that, where you're just like, wow, this is going to be tough to make this work, or are you still feeling very positive about it?
Do you know what? You would be lying to say you weren't worried about it. Anybody who takes a gamble like that and isn't worried about it, then they're lying.
There's something wrong with them.
There's something wrong with them, exactly. I mean, I'm not a great sleeper at the best of times, and that was before the Garrion tower. Like, I think when you're a business owner, you effectively lose sleep every night. And it's not just for you. You've got a lot of people relying on you. You get a lot of people who've got this. There's a prime example. You've got staff, you've got the community going, can't wait to see the hotel.
Like,
there's a lot of pressure on you, 110%. But I think to let the intrusive negative thoughts take over the plans ahead would be silly, because I'm too deep now.
There's no choice.
You don't want
to just go full steam ahead, and you know what? I've not killed anybody.
You don't want your inner bitch to come in and start talking you to and going, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, no, it's too
Have you
much.
approached any kind of like development finance, like funders and stuff like that, to get?
Well, we've got quite a lot of people interested, construction funders and things like that as well. So we've got quite a lot of people who it's no investors as such, because they're no physically investing in the hotel. We have got investors who are interested in helping us get the construction and everything like that going. So we've got quite a bit of that already going on as well. We've had loads of meetings for stuff like that. So to be honest, we've got loads in the pipeline. It's not like I'm sitting going, oh Matt, there is 5 million in my head. It's not like that at all.
Would it make sense to try and get private investors finance into it that could be paid back at the end of the project, rather than going to a bank or a lender for development finance? They're going to make you service that debt fucking every month when there's no income coming in.
I think anything's an option. Anything's possible. And again, I'm going to be honest, I've actually been pretty lucky. Again, just with all the publication and the social media that we've had so far, there's people been chatting mad ordering, and I've not had to do really much at the minute, because everything we're doing right now is not really costing much. Everything planning and architects and things like that, it's things that I'm able to just finance at the minute without having to worry about the greater picture here. But at the moment, we've had loads of people just approaching us, and I'm having to set meetings to go, right, what are you looking for? Because people are coming to us, and I've not even had to go to anybody yet. So to be honest, there probably will be a lot of that, because we've got meetings set up basically for the next 2 months.
And what is the first? I mean, obviously, you're at the moment you're going through the planning stage, and everyone's kind of like on paper at the moment. But like physically, when do you hope that there's going to be actual work getting carried out?
So we were hoping to get our foot in the ground by about September this year and start to dig some groundwork and things like that. But there's a couple of things that have delayed a wee bit of the planning at the minute. It's bat surveys, and we've got water voles as well, which we just,
that you never even
found out things that we would never even, when we've went to planning, these are things that we'd get to, but obviously actually having them and getting the surveys for them are two different things. So these are things that need to be, it's like an oncologist that looks at all of that and decides how they move, relocate the families and things like that. So it's all these wee things that I didn't even really think were going to be a problem, and they're going to be a problem.
It's going to be a lot of spanners in the works.
Yeah, a job of this size.
It's going to be a steep learning curve, like absolutely.
That you're just going to be lying in your bed every night watching your hotel grow, you'd be daft. Do you know what I mean?
What would be the first thing to tackle then? Is it making it like wind and watertight, the roof and stuff like that? Or?
Most of that's already been done. All the windows have been reboarded. The equipment's going out this weekend to seal all the roof. We initially had plans to seal the roof, but we had to get these surveys done by a company called Ardmore. Because there wasn't any floor plans, they had to go in with drones and things like that. Right. And because of the shape of what it was, they needed to be able to have access via the roof to get in, to get to the top levels, because there's no stairs or anything like that. So we had to leave that
open basically to let the drones
until
go.
That gets sorted. And then obviously, but don't get me wrong, it does worry me every time the rain's on. I'm not worried about my kids wearing warm enough jackets. I'm worried about my roof collapsing at the Garrion. So it does keep me up at night as well. So I'm looking forward to this weekend and getting the roof sealed.
The rains will be fine.
The rains are fine.
They'll just get a wee cold.
Get them inside. My Garrion.
Could be in there.
A couple of times.
There's nothing that scares you more than a building that's falling apart and you're
the rain zone.
You're like,
stressful, and it just knowing that you're listening to it.
Opening to the elements and knowing what mere damage it's going to cause me.
Absolutely. So I'm worried for her, but we're getting there. She's alright. She's structurally sound. The surveys have been done. She's structurally sound, so all good.
With buildings like that, like a 14th century castle, it's still fucking standing.
No.
So they were built right.
Not going anywhere. The structural engineer that came out and done all the reports and everything. I mean, he was like, the condition of that building is unbelievable, and it's been through the mill, and it is unbelievable. They just don't make them like that anymore.
I think you're going to appoint a main contractor then to carry out the development, or
so we've already appointed a project manager, someone again locally. Every company that we've used so far has all been local businesses. That's like a promise that I've made. I will continue to do that throughout the entire project, if you like, unless physically impossible. The project manager that we've already appointed, he was in charge of the cross baskets over in Blantyre, which is quite a similar project to us. It's a hotel, it was a listed building on the water, so it's a very similar project over in South Lanarkshire, and he's now been appointed for our project, so it's quite good because he comes with loads of experience, and he's kind of going to be the one that's dealing with all of that, because as you can imagine, it's going to be far too much for me to handle myself, so he'll be dealing with all of that, and then I'll just be at the tick box meeting and
checking it's all going ahead, schedule and plan. Aye, it's I mean, it's some stress, but I'm sure you're looking at the vision of the back end and what it's going to be like as a hotel, as a wedding venue. How do you assess the numbers then on that for an exit finance? Because I mean, if you're going to spend 5 to 7 million, you need to pay that back, whether it be private investors finance or development finance. How are you looking at this perform? Weddings booked to every weekend, big events.
Again, I have to be honest, it's one thing I'm kind of not worried about at the minute, and the reason for that is because we had put up a couple of TikToks and a couple of videos and stuff like that, and I had to actually put another video on saying, guys, for anybody inquiring about weddings, can you email to this email, and then we will get back to you once we've even get viable plans that we can show you. At the minute, we've got concept drawings, which are now going to be then put forward into actual drawings for planning, which we're working on now. But people were seeing the concepts and trying, but we've got an email for it, and they've got 176 emails in it now
for people inquiring
about the wedding.
People
want to book their weddings for 2025 and 2026. So, like I said, I think social media is the most powerful tool you can use, and it's free.
100%.
So we rely on it heavily. Brand awareness is huge for us, and it's so important for my business in general. But I think that the Garrion thing, it's all about putting it on the map to make sure people know what they're going to get and what they want for it. And see, if people plan their weddings 2-3 years in advance. So effectively, once we have got our foot in the ground and we have started building, and we can get bookings. 3D, 4D plans to show people, we can start generating revenue right away.
And
charge double for the first person
as well. So not in,
do you want to be
their doors like, hello, did you want the wedding?
Who wants to be the first person in?
Is there no anything you can do with land in terms of, like, I don't know, marquees or anything like that as well? And in the meantime, no.
There is,
because you don't have the services and the kind of the heat and the electricity and all that.
We have looked into loads of things like that. It's about just in general, like, you know, where the Garrion is kind of sits like up on a pedestal, if you like. Right. It's at the top of the hill, and the land comes down into the water. So I can't imagine offering somebody a marquee wedding looking into a construction site, because I wouldn't like that. And it's just, we've tried to come up with loads of different revenue streams that we can do at the minute, which has been proper difficult, if I'm being honest, because there's always like a but, you know. So that's the only thing I would say. I think we were talking about doing the development in phases, and concentrating, because it's such obviously a big development, potentially concentrating on the first phase being the wedding venue without any overnight stay, if you like, which then allows us to have weddings there initially and stuff like that. But again, this is just, I mean, that is the way it's going to be kind of built anyway, so it's just a matter of getting that up and running, and if that's the case, then we could potentially start having weddings there before, you know, it's completely
some
finished.
Income and then
generate some income. So
get a few of these glamping pods up down by the river.
We're planning on doing like wee kind of tree houses and stuff like that as well. So it's just about getting all that organised, and it's like, so Airbnb-ing them, do you know what I mean? It's just...
How much of this has been a distraction from your core business, which is G4 Claims, right? So has it been quite a distraction? Have you got a good enough team set up now in your business that you can afford to take the time out to go and spend on this stuff?
Jump fences and climb in windows and that, and look at castles.
Listen, I always done that anyway. That was before the Garrion, to be honest. But no, see, to be honest, I've got a great team. Like, all my team kind of do the majority. They do the full claims handling, so I kind of just monitor and oversee. But at the end of the day, I've got a home office as well, so it's just one of the ones that anybody again who thinks they're going to do this much and sit back and go to sleep at night, you know, I work at home, I work here, I put my kids to bed and then I go back to my computer, so it's difficult sometimes to time manage a wee bit, but I prioritise G4 always because it's my bread and butter.
To get off the topic of the Garrion as well, like what was your background into what gave you the drive into business and working eyes open till eyes shut, as we all do, as probably as small business owners.
To be honest, G4 just in general, when G4 first started, I mean, I literally had done it for a spare bedroom. Sometimes you didn't even have enough money to have a wage in the month. You know, you had £150. So
did you start it from scratch?
This initially, my dad had done my dad had done non-fault accident management for about 30 years, and then he got made redundant for a company that he dealt with in England, and before my dad was a bit of a dinosaur. He didn't ever deal with computers or anything. He had an admin office, so basically when he started to go himself, he wasn't sure, he didn't even have a computer, so he didn't know. And I worked for the local council at the time when I first left school, so my dad was kind of like, look, can you please help me if I get a laptop or whatever? And I was like, right. But then, as we get into it, my dad's no really like that. He's quite a guy, he likes to just go to his work and come home and have a salary. And that wasn't really working for him, so he was just kind of feeling a bit under pressure with it. So, but by that point, I realised, I love this. I love this job. I love having a business. And he wasn't really, because he didn't like computers and he wasn't into social media and all that. So he was kind of like, right, just you go and do your thing and I'll do mine. So I just basically carried on with it, and then it went from 0 to 100, and that was it. So to be fair, I've been doing this for 14 years now, and only the last 7 years it's been G4. You know, before it was me. Yeah. And then
that's important. That's important, because a lot of people will come here and see this and, wow, this is amazing, this girl's done so well, but they don't understand what you put in.
Doing it for your bedroom for years.
Especially for young people listening to podcasts as well, you know, they want to just fast track to success.
And
doesn't happen,
there
does
is
it?
No one. There is no one. I mean, I've tried everything. I moved into an office. When I left my spare bedroom, I went, right, I'm going to get an office in Glasgow city centre so that I can be cool and trendy. And then I went in there and realised it was £500 a month for a box room, and then I couldn't afford it, so I had to move back out here. And I mean, you've done it all, you know. I done all that, and I couldn't afford staff, so again I was working day and night to try and cover the shift and answer all the phones and go out and see people, bring in new business. It was really, really difficult. And even just getting trains everywhere or driving your car, and it was a nightmare, you know, just trying to afford everything. But then eventually one day it went from
snowballs
hard to bigger and better, and I just went, all right, great. So, and
that'll surely bring in more problems and a bigger problems, I'm assuming, because
the bigger the beast, the bigger the problem.
Exactly. Now you've got you've got a good number of staff out there, haven't you? You've got
so there's 25 staff in total. And again, even just staff management, I mean, it's a job on its own. Effectively, people say like, oh, have you got a great team? I've got a brilliant team. But staff management just in general, authorising holidays, make sure there's people cover the shift, the office. You know, you always get that, people complaining, somebody's crying. You know, that's a general office. So it is difficult to even manage that. That's a big part of my job.
And do you see property, just getting back to property again, do you see that as a good place as... You know, you're obviously a trading business and you're generating profits and the rest of it. Do you see that as a good place to invest in? Not just away from the Garrion Tower, do you have any other investments as well?
I have a few. To be honest, I'm not really big in investing. You know, I've done buy to let here. I'm kind of trying to get away from that at the minute. I'm working on an exit plan for that. I feel as if that's a bit of a headache at the minute. So I think the full idea of investing, you know, the flipping or for example, turning it into a hotel or wedding venue is kind of what I'm up to. But
more sort of commercial property.
Commercial property is what I specialise in. I also have I've got 3 houses in Florida that I do Airbnb on.
Right.
So I feel as if that is to be looked at. I mean, just the American market is just so different for here. It's so easy to buy and sell. It's so easy to Airbnb. I just think it's just your profit margins are a lot higher.
Not trying to stifle it with regulations and stuff like that.
Exactly. And you know, Airbnb is absolutely amazing. By the way, it does a lot of the work for you. It's the first time I've used it.
You get a management company to deal with them?
No, I deal with that as well. I personally deal with that. Right. Only because I bought my first property over there during the lockdown. Right. And well, to be fair, I bought it in the February, and then everything got all signed, sealed, delivered, and we went into lockdown in the March, and I couldn't go over there. So,
did you just buy them cash out there, or did you get mortgages?
I got a mortgage.
You get a mortgage too?
So I opened a company over there.
Ah, right, okay.
so that I could, because it's that's the only thing I would say about, you know, in America they wouldn't give me a mortgage, but they would give my company a mortgage.
Right.
So I had to open my business over there. So that obviously, effectively, they would get me to pay tax, if you like, because I think it must be easier for you to track you down that way. So I opened a company over there to do that, and then put it on Airbnb. The Florida governor was a madman. Like, COVID was just not even real to him. So anybody that didn't believe in COVID, they were going to Florida to holiday. So that worked out amazing for me. So I could,
Ron, isn't it? Ron DeSantis or something like that. Is it not?
Is it?
Like, I think
what
it
is his name? Is it Ron?
Big Ron.
I can't even remember his
I think he's
name.
running for the next president.
Oh, is he? Oh, God, he'll be a laugh.
Aye.
But you're backing him anyway.
Do you know what's annoying me? Is that his name? That's not ringing a bell for me. I can't remember the guy's name. Oh, he was a madman. He didn't. So during COVID,
Ron DeSantis, Republican. So he's going to be one of the. Yeah, he was like full on just.
He was like, COVID isn't real, just get on with it. Like,
come on holiday.
If you're on holiday here, we know. Do you know?
Do you go there quite a bit?
I do now. I do now. And that's kind of how it happens. Like, I ended up, obviously, we had the March and I was in panic motion. I thought, right, well, wait a minute, like, I've just bought a house there and now we're in lockdown. Like, I'm going to pay for this mortgage and all that. And then obviously I put it on Airbnb, and anybody who wasn't a fan of COVID basically just went to Florida.
For a holiday.
So it ended up working out brilliant. By literally 6 months into the lockdown, I had bought another property 2 doors up because it went into repossession, and I went, oh, I'll take that. And that was the second one on the go. And
Had you been out by that point?
No, wait, I couldn't go out there for 2 years. I bought the both of them blind. So the first one, I had went to see one just like 3 doors down, and as soon as I went to bid for it, it was away. But they said, listen, there's 3 doors up that's available. So I went, right, send me some pictures, because I was already home by then. That was in February, and I went, right, that looks fine, I'll go for it, because it was the same type of house. Went for that, and then literally 6 months later, the guy who'd sold me the first property phoned me and said, listen, there's a repossession a couple of doors up for you. Are you interested? And I went, send me some pictures. And he sent me, and I went, right, I'll go for it.
Did you make a cheeky offer?
I made a very cheeky offer.
Good.
I've never set foot in either of them, still to this day.
In terms of being
Nicole's my kind of guest.
In terms of being a risk taker, then, right, from a scale of 1 to 10,
I don't like risks. No, I'm dead quiet with risks. I just sit back.
Buying property blind in America. Fantastic.
We've got to do a part 2 with Nicole.
So that's probably the end of our time. Thanks very much for sharing and being honest. And
you're welcome.
It's been really good insight. And
Thanks for having
we need to
me.
get down for a wee visit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Jump the fence.
I'll jump the fence, climb the windows. I want to
I'll
climb
put a
it.
higher fence in, so I don't want you to jump.
So I can scale up. I'm alright
I don't
climbing.
want you to jump it and then climb me.
So I'll come here.
So don't bother doing okay. Nobody's allowed in there.
No fee. Right, excellent.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks a lot, Nicole. Where can everyone reach out to you or follow the progress on the...
So obviously we're on YouTube. If you want to type Garrion Tower into Google, I'm sure you will find us. Absolutely.
You're not shy in the photo shoots, are you?
I am not.
I'll just watch
I've never
Nick
been in so many photo shoots in all my life. I was absolutely loving it. I'm surprised I've not took up part-time modelling after that, actually.
TikTok's for that thing,
G4. If you type in G4 or you type in Garrion Tower, you'll find us.
I think TikTok's a great place to just get a good... If listeners are listening to this and going, I need to check this Garrion Tower out, go and check TikTok, because you've got like drone footage and all that.
Yeah.
Gives you the whole layout.
We've also got a Garrion Tower website, which has got a weekly blog on it as well, so it updates you every week on what we're doing that week, effectively, because some weeks people think what they're up to and we're not doing nothing, but we're actually doing hunters.
That's how I found that my market research coming through in the car that day. Garrion Tower and TikTok's memory. Tell me about it when we were last through here. No, brilliant, Nicole. Thanks so much. We're keen to keep looking at the progress as it progresses on anyway.
Thank you.
None of us are getting married there because we're already married.
I'm going to be too tight to pay that money.
Renew your vows. I need customers.
Divorce parties.
Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cheers.